Welcome back. If you've just joined, you've been watching Guardians of Gaia, and tonight's topic is marine life and ocean safety. Now, don't forget to use our socials. We really invite you to start a conversation on environmental injustices in your community, be it from Bishop's Court to Bishop Labours. Before the break, we looked at a short film called Bay of Sewage, a local production that focused on local marine reserves in Cape Town. We now head over to the city of Cape Town as they respond to the film. Today we're out on sea with the city of Cape Town as they respond to the short film Bay of Sewage.
It's quite low tide now, so if ever you're going to see a sewage from the outfall, it would be now, because the water is very low, so the chances of it getting to the surface is higher, but it normally doesn't.
This morning, as Guardians of Gaia, we're here with Xanthea Limberg from the city of Cape Town and their response to the short film called The Bay of Sewage. Good morning, Xanthea. How are you this morning?
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. So, the short film claims that millions of litres of untreated effluent is being pumped into our local oceans daily. How true is that?
In relation to the Bay of Sewage documentary, it is important just to point out that the City of Cape Town was never offered a right of reply to the documentary, and so we weren't able to respond to what we believe were some problematic inaccuracies, and that is unfortunate, and we are obviously in many other ways trying to address some of those inaccuracies through the information that the city shares in terms of its monitoring and evaluation work, as well as the sharing of data in our annual reports, and most importantly also sharing the extensive work that goes into actually undertaking the sampling and ensuring compliance overall. The city has 3 marine outfalls in the city. We are closely located to one at the moment here in Camps Bay, but only about 8% of the city's overall wastewater is discharged in this way. Of the 758 million litres of wastewater capacity, only about 8% is discharged via the outfalls, so quite a small percentage of the overall wastewater that we discharge as a city on a daily basis.
I see. It comes to the question, though, how does the city define treated wastewater? Is there different degrees of treated wastewater?
Well, the city doesn't define treated wastewater. There is national legislation and standards which are set in terms of wastewater operations, and all municipalities, including the city of Cape Town, is required to comply with that. At the outfalls, there is what is called a pre-treatment process, and at some of our larger wastewater treatment plants, there are additional phases or process of treatment. But it's all determined based on license conditions, and we need to obviously report on our compliance, and that is overseen largely by the National Department of Water and Sanitation.
Thank you so much for that, Xanthea. So the Camps Bay Ratepayers Association, of course, hired an advocate, and they said that the water is being pumped into our oceans, of course. The advocate's opinion was that it is completely illegal, and the dumping of marine protected areas was against the law of the country. Is the city aware of the advocate's opinion?
The city is aware. Marine outfalls have been in place and operational for about 100 years or so. And the city has obtained a license to operate these marine outfalls. And our duty is to ensure compliance in terms of those license conditions.
Thank you so much. When was the last time that the city actually shared the sewage contamination results?
Well, the city does have regular sampling around the outfalls, and that data is also shared on a periodic basis and available for the public. So there is a commitment to transparency in terms of water quality data, And more recently, the city has released its coastal water quality report, as well as the inland water quality report, because we remain focused and determined to ensure that we share that information, and that information is used to empower and inform residents about the state of our water bodies, and so that they also, more importantly, understand their role and the impact their behavior has on these receiving water bodies.
Thank you so much. So, with the potential for contaminated water moving in and out every few days, why does the city only test every 2 weeks? Why not more frequently?
Well, the city's testing or sampling regime is based on what is required in terms of our permit or license operations.
So we've got 15 sampling points here. We connect an enormous amount of data, much more than once every 2 weeks. We've collected hundreds of samples over the years. And we monitor those samples for enterobacteria, so the bacterial levels. We monitor for suspended solids. We monitor for temperature, for salinity changes. We're also running a program at the moment where we have contractors or experts that work for us. They hang mussel bags in the water column here. So what they do is they take mussels, which is live mussels, they put them in a bag, and then they hang them on 9 stations around the Outfalls and leave them in the water for 12 weeks. And then they recollect them, and what they measure is to look at the differences in growth rates as well as the accumulation in metals in the tissue of those mussels. And they compare that to similar bags of mussels that they hang in the water column a long way away from the Outfalls, which is a control sample. And we're able to see whether there are faster growth rates in the mussels or an accumulation of metals in those mussels. So, I think the suggestion that we only collect once water sample every 2 weeks and that's how we look after the Outfalls is completely incorrect. There's an extraordinarily long and detailed monitoring program around each of the 3 marine outfalls. We sample twice a week across 99 sampling stations over 300 kilometers of coastline, and that's purely to meet the national guidelines for water quality at recreational bathing beaches.
But no, the city is not of the view that this area is or should be declared as a dead zone. As indicated, the marine outfalls are operated as per our license or permit obligations, and we strive to continuously comply and adhere to those requirements.
All right, thanks for that. So if we look at Maidens Cove, it is claimed that the short film, it's claimed by the short film that there is raw sewage being dumped about 700 meters from the nearest landfill. Now, the issue is that in 1992, studies actually suggest that bacteria actually wraps itself or attaches itself around grease for up to 7 days at sea and can travel for up to 5 kilometers. What is the city's response to this?
Well, I think that the city has done its own assessments, and we believe that there is minimal risk to the way that the outfalls operate. For example, one of our extensive and monitoring evaluation programs run by the CSIR have also indicated that the operations of the outfall do not have a severe impact on the environmental state of our marine life and have minimal impact on human life as well. Those 3-year studies have been also peer reviewed, and we're now in the next phase of the second monitoring and evaluation program. We're 2 years into that 3-year study. The initial study done by the CSIR, the city also released that report in the public realm so that the public could also understand that we have done a thorough assessment on all of the risks associated with marine fall operations. And we believe that the outcome of the assessment or monitoring and evaluation work once again proves that the outfalls are operated in a sustainable way where risks have been substantially minimized. And so I think that to a large extent also should provide comfort to residents around the perceived risks, and the city remains committed to sharing ongoing work around monitoring and evaluation of the outfalls.
Thank you so much. I guess that brings us to our last question, and you partly sort of answered that in terms of what the future plans are on behalf of the city for treating the sewage. Are there any particular sewage treatment plants in place?
So the city has 26 wastewater treatment plants, and over the next 10 years, we plan an 11 billion rand investment in the upgrade of our wastewater treatment operations. And this will obviously improve also the quality of treated effluent that is disposed of into the environment, and will ensure that we comply with our license conditions. In terms of the outfalls, as indicated, that they are not operating anywhere at the stage near to their design capacity, and the city is obviously monitoring that to ensure that there isn't an extensive impact, and we do not necessarily at this stage have any plans on increasing the capacity at these outfalls as well.
Thank you so much, Xanthea. You certainly have answered all our questions. We thank you for coming today and just shedding some more light on it. Thank you so much. Our vast and mysterious global ocean holds our lives in its hands, and we depend on the big blue sea even more than we know. If we fail to protect our oceans, our ecosystems, and our marine life, we will feel it in the form of a very uncomfortable hot earth. We as humans are just little giants in this big sea. We invite you to start now. Start small. Start where you are and with what you have. Well, that's it from me, Megan Edwards, on Guardians of Gaia. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, the greatest danger to our planet is that someone else will save it. Good night.